Back here on the Frank Beckmann Show, yesterday brought a visit from Congressman Fred Upton, the chairman of the powerful House Energy and Commerce Committee. Representative Upton from right here in the state of Michigan has been with us so many times before, and he joins us today to talk about his tour of a new refinery project that is going on right here in Metro Detroit. Good morning to you. Just call me Fred.
Absolutely, Frank. Good morning. What a nice-looking day so far.
That's beautiful. It was a cold night. You were off the air. You were bemoaning the freeze that's hit the farmers, and we all feel for them. The vagaries of nature have affected some of our fruit crops this year.
Well, that's right. It got down to the mid-20s over here in southwest Michigan, and that's impacting a lot of the fruit crops that obviously are weeks and weeks early because of the warm spring that we've had.
Yeah, there was only something we could do about it, huh?
Not much.
No,
Not much.
Exactly. There's not a thermostat you can turn.
That's right.
Sadly. Well, listen, there is something we can do about energy supplies in this country, though. And yesterday you paid a visit to an upgrade project here in Metro Detroit that Marathon Petroleum has going. The last refinery, really, that was built in the United States, wasn't it?
Well, that's right. Back in 1976, and this is a $2.2 billion expansion. It ought to be online probably early next year. I think they've spent thousands of man hours and employment, all of that. But this is, the bottom line is this. We consume about 18 million barrels of oil for transportation every day. We only produce 7 or 8 million. So it's got to come from someplace. In this case, Canada is one of our largest exporters of oil to the United States. They've got lots of reserves. This oil sands, a relatively new technique, and they want to send it here. They can't consume all that they produce, and so we have seen a whole number of refineries, even here in the Midwest. This one outside of just east of the airport, just east of Detroit Metro, but down in Gary, Indiana, a BP facility, but certainly the ones down in Texas as well. They're just thirsting for more crude that they can produce. And isn't it better to get it from our friends to the north than it is from more unstable countries, or whether they be in the Middle East or certainly Venezuela? Production in Mexico is way down. This is something that we need to do, and particularly as our economy begins to rev up again.
All right, now, one of the ways they get that oil is through the, presumably through the Keystone Pipeline someday, some way. We don't know if that'll ever happen. The president has put a kibosh on that, claiming that, he blamed you on the Republican side, which was rather interesting. He said you tried to make him, force him into a quick decision, but his administration's been considering this pipeline for 3 years now, and one would think that is sufficient time to make a decision on it. But that aside, this refinery here in Michigan, talk about it to the audience, if you would, in terms of the jobs it represents beyond the advantages it can give us in reducing dependence on foreign oil.
Well, number one, having a refinery here in Michigan, sort of at the top of the food chain, rather than pumping it up from Texas or Louisiana, it helps keep costs lower than what they would otherwise be. It's also it's a huge job creator. I mean, we were on the construction site yesterday, and I want to say that there's like 1,100 people working on this project. It's a massive engineering project, particularly when you see this thing, and you're right there. But knowing that they're going to really continue to produce refined oil, I mean, whether it be diesel or jet fuel, obviously unleaded, all those different things. They've got a great process, real engineering. They're using the local talent, folks that have been through our chemical engineers and community colleges. It's a great opportunity and something that we can't turn our back on.
No, indeed. Is this project going to go ahead? Will it be completed? Will the refinery be online no matter what happens with the pipeline, the Keystone Pipeline?
Yes, it will. The Keystone Pipeline basically is going to connect Alberta through Montana down through Nebraska. They changed the route so it didn't go through that one particular aquifer. That will, in essence, go down to Cushing and Oklahoma, and then directly down to Houston. But the source of crude for this facility in Detroit is a couple of different ways. Not really the Keystone XL pipeline, but it'll be taking oil sands from not only from Canada but also the Dakotas, where it's being produced. The tragic thing is that last year on public lands, production fell by 100 million barrels. But on private lands, and a lot of this is private lands that's coming here, particularly from the Dakotas, we saw production increase. And it's that increase that we're seeing come here to Metro Detroit to be refined here. So that the construction here will go on regardless of the debate on Keystone XL.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been interesting. The Obama administration has tried to take credit for that increase in oil production, but you correctly pointed out there's been actually a decrease in that exploration allowed on private land, on public lands owned by the U.S. government, and so I mean they have stood in the way of exploiting these resources throughout the last 3.5 years. I'd like to talk a little bit more about Bakken, though. This project has been on our radar screen since it was Seven years ago, we started talking about it on the show. What's it producing right now? What's the significance of Bakken? How much does that potentially hold in terms of oil reserves?
Well, there could be billions of barrels there. When you get oil, the process of deriving oil from oil sands is a little different than what we think traditionally. Remember the Clampetts on the Beverly Hillbillies, they just put that pipe down and, they got a gusher. The oil sands is trapped in the sand. You've got to use a little heat to extract it from the sand, so it's a little more corrosive. But that takes place. And traditionally, you might get a little bit more heavy oil versus from the light crude that you might see from Texas or maybe Saudi Arabia, that type of thing. So it's a little bit of a different process in terms of the volume that you create. But, when you refine a barrel of crude, there's a lot of things that come out of it. You've got unleaded, you've got diesel, you've got jet fuel, you've got petroleum coke or pet coke as they call it, which is often used for perhaps generating electricity or certainly aluminum or steel, things like that. You got a lot of different products, and it's really the boiling point of that determines what is the product that comes out of it. So that's why, as an example, we actually export some diesel to Europe and we swap it for unleaded. It keeps their prices lower than what they'd otherwise be, and frankly, it keeps our unleaded prices lower than what they would be as well. So the Bakken reserves, which is in eastern Montana and north and South Dakota, looks like it could be a tremendous opportunity for us, most of it on private land. But the Gulf is responsible for a third of our oil in this country. The tragic thing is, just last week, the Department of Interior just announced that they're in essence taking the state of Virginia off limits until at least 2018 for drilling there, even though the governor wants to see it happen, because of course states do get some royalties when that occurs.
Well, and even worse, you look at what's going on with coal plants. The EPA putting the stop to all new coal plant production in the U.S. and what that might do to the coal industry in this country, and it could decimate the state of West Virginia and its economy. So this is just some startling stuff that stands to, and it's environmentalists standing in the way of future development, of the advancement of American opportunity, and having a horrible impact on the economy.
Well, you're right. One of the things that we're going to be working on in our committee the next number of months is try to develop an independent energy policy for all of North America, and that means utilizing everything, whether it be wind and solar, the renewables, but certainly natural gas, clean coal, safe nuclear. Obviously, fossil fuels are part of that mix. We have great opportunities here, and as the world economy begins to heat up again, and it is, we ought to be in a prime position to take advantage of that with some lower energy costs than perhaps the rest of the world, and create the jobs and bring a lot of those jobs back home.
Congressman, that's a wonderful idea, but please make those alternative energy the companies that deal in those alternative energy projects, please make them stand on their own, and please don't be wasting my money on algae to put in my gas tank, It ain't going to work long term. And one other thing, when they start trying to convince you that we're going to somehow reduce our dependence on foreign oil by building windmills and solar panels, please be sure you ask them exactly how much oil it takes to run our coal plants, because that's what they're looking to replace. And the answer is foreign oil does nothing for the electricity grid in this country.
That's right. We're not going to pick winners and losers. We're going to let the marketplace dictate where we go.
Good to hear. Got to run. I appreciate the time this morning, and sorry you bursted everybody's bubble about Jed Clampett hunting for some food, and up from the ground comes some bubbling crude. I thought that's what happened everywhere. So, hey, thanks for the time. Good to talk with you again.
You bet.
Take care now. Congressman Fred Upton joining us here on the Frank Beckmann Show. Happy to have him with us to keep you the best informed audience in all of radio here on News Talk 760 WJR.